As with all strategy formulation, you must first conduct strategic analysis. This involves identifying the key strategic issues that need to be addressed and the insights required to understand them fully. Then, identifying appropriate frameworks and models to help gather and understand the data. You will need to look externally from the IT organization to understand the threats and opportunities in the environment, as well as internally to critically review your current levels of capability and competence across the IT supply chain. Bringing this information together, you will be able to draw out the full list of options available to you. You must then evaluate these options in order to identify the most appropriate, feasible, and desirable option to take forward and form your strategy. The strategy must then be justified and the necessary investment raised. The strategy must then be effectively deployed so that the expected benefits can be realized. This may mean designing, building, and operating your own private cloud. Or it may mean discovering your application environment in detail so that you can transform it and migrate it into a public cloud service. Or it may mean doing both of these activities as you look to optimize risks and benefits by using private and public models in conjunction to form a hybrid cloud solution. For the future cloud service providers, you have the additional challenge of learning to market your new services and develop the necessary consulting services to enable sales and drive demand for your cloud. What is important to bear in mind is that while cloud simplifies things from an end-user perspective, everyone looking to build a cloud must therefore consider not just the infrastructure. They must also consider that now infrastructure has a user experience, with the implication being that infrastructure as a service is as much an application in and of itself as it is infrastructure. This can be clearly seen from our reference architecture for a cloud. The bulk of the architecture is made up of elements that could not classically be thought of as infrastructure. So in summary, during this webcast we've covered what cloud computing is and how it's defined, the drivers and why it is important, some macroeconomic forces, the role and implications of commoditization, that it is an enabler for a paradigm shift in application development. We've talked about the impact and what it means to you, the benefits and risks, the key questions that will kickstart your strategic response. We also began to illuminate the way to get there by demonstrating how to develop your own cloud adoption strategy and drawing out some of the key components of a cloud solution, which when it is all brought together will improve your chances of success in the cloud. So that's it from me in terms of slides. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining me on this webcast today and take any questions.
Thank you, Anthony. Our first question is, are public cloud offers like Amazon, Azure truly suitable for production applications, or have the providers made them easy to sell and deliver but useful only for test dev uses?
I think I'd have to go back to the point I made about applications. I think we've seen outages in those environments, which mean that for your traditional production applications, it might not be a great place to put them. But some people have been putting those kinds of applications into those clouds, and as long as they've followed Amazon's guidelines in terms of being able to architect those applications across various failure zones, high availability zones, then when one piece goes down, the application continues to run in another piece. And I see this going forwards, with the application actually running across more than one cloud, so that you insulate yourself from cloud failure. So I think today you have to be very careful that you're only putting applications out there that that can tolerate that kind of failure, or applications that don't mean significant things to your business should they go down for periods of time. Even with application development, however, we work with customers who a lot of their intellectual property actually sits inside their source code, and so they are also nervous about using public clouds for development environments. So it really does come back to exactly how the application is architected and what it provides into your business, and through that kind of understanding you can decide whether or not the public cloud is the right place for you today.
Thank you. Our next question is, how long does it typically take, best to worst case, to get from today's infrastructure to a private cloud?
Oh, that's a great question, and a lot will really depend on how mature you are as an infrastructure, sort of an internal shared service provider today. We've been doing this for many years, but we still see many organizations being in very different places when it comes to their IT service management maturity. If you imagine moving to a private cloud is essentially taking yourself through shared service model into a self-service model. And so technically, if you're already pretty highly virtualized, you've really only got to bring in things like orchestration and automation and put that user experience around your infrastructure. But it may take a lot longer to actually change your organization. So I think you're talking anywhere between kind of 6 to 18 months, depending on exactly how big a challenge we're talking about.
Is bursting or overflow between private and public clouds commercially available today?
That's a good question, and I can't say I've got an answer which I can hold my hand up to know to be exactly right, but I would say that it's more of an aspiration today than otherwise, because what you really need to do is make sure that the infrastructure on both sides of the equation is fairly similar and can work with one another. We do talk to some cloud providers who are looking to be able to provide capability to plug into your private cloud to allow that kind of movement backwards and forwards. But I wouldn't say that it's something that we've seen a lot of capability for today. But I think if it can be got right, and it's certainly an area we're looking at more closely going forwards, this ability to enable the hybrid cloud is a very powerful one.